15 years ago, all I wanted to do was to learn how to edit for YouTube. 10 years ago, I wanted to get my career started. And now 15 years later, over 1,000 videos later, I now have my own editing business. I am currently working with 7 clients. And in the midst of everything came about an idea of wanting to talk about what I wish I would have known when I first started. These are things that would have given me more direction and more understanding as to what I could have done or at least thought about while I was pursuing this as a career. Because even though right now it feels like we editors on the YouTube space have to know everything in order to get hired for certain jobs, I also learned I don't need to know everything because some of the most successful editors that I know don't know everything. So one of the first things that I wish I would have known and thought about when I first started was there's different kinds of niches, so therefore you can kind of pick the niche in which you want to edit in. And what I mean by that is there's so many different pockets that exist in the YouTube space. Whether it's a productivity channel, whether you're a finance channel, a gamer, a vlogger, a commentator, all of those are edited differently for one reason or another, so you can kind of pick what you really want to dive in and become really good at editing on. So for example, I do not at all enjoy making gaming content. Now, even though I do have a channel that involves gaming and stuff, and I do enjoy making those, what I mean specifically is I don't like making those kind of meme videos where I have to put a bunch of text on screen all the time. And while I don't enjoy doing it, is it outside of my scope of ability to be able to do it? No, I just don't find a lot of enjoyment and a lot of fulfillment in making those kind of videos. So therefore, I learned that that's not exactly the kind of editor I want to be. If somebody wanted to hire me in my post house business to edit their gaming videos, then I would ask one of my members if they feel comfortable and actually find joy in editing gaming content. And then if not, I would then hire someone who enjoys and specializes in that kind of content so I can give them work. But I also know that the level of joy and love and passion will come out from them editing the video as opposed to me. And I don't think that's something that a lot of us editors, when we're trying to establish ourselves in our names, really think about, because we want to get all this experience, so we have to dive into everything. And I do agree on that front when you're first starting, is to try everything so you know what you want to do and what you also don't want to do. I remember when I went to LA once and I met with one of my friends, and he's worked on America's Got Talent. And he told me that he feels his specialty and why he gets hired, it isn't technically his editing skills, it's knowing the right music selections and knowing which song to pick for his edits is what gets him the jobs. When I heard that, I thought that was very interesting. I never would have thought that that was one method of getting hired. But then I also remember that I met someone that knows James Cameron, and they also said that James Cameron, for some of his films like in Avatar, that he would have specific editors who were skilled in a specific part of editing for the film. Meaning, if he needed an action sequence edited, he would pick an editor that is specified or really good at doing action. And then he would get another editor that was really good at doing romance or the emotional part of the film. Now, of course, I can't really verify with James himself, but that kind of idea and concept though is kind of what I'm getting at, is if you really enjoy making gaming videos, then you can specialize in becoming a gaming editor, because there's a lot of people that would hire you specifically for being really good at that. And it took me so long to really know what I specifically as an editor really enjoy making. And that's going to be educational, productivity type of videos. Hence why 4 of the channels that I currently work on, which would be Thomas Frank Explains, Charles Cornell, and Scott the Coda Guy, if you notice that those channels are primarily channels that focuses on education first. Since we're teaching concepts or software, we focus on the information first, and the editing is there to help really exemplify what it is that we're trying to say in the video. And of course, you can always add some flashiness to make things even better, whether it's a graphic, doing some MoGraph and what have you, but we focus on the content and the information first. And that is how I like to approach my edits as well. But the point I'm getting at is find what you're truly passionate about and get really good at doing that. And sometimes you will get hired for being really good at that one thing that you just happen to really enjoy to do. And what's great about starting the business that I started is that I get to work alongside other creative friends. And the cool thing is, since I'm working with friends, if I can't do something, I just pass the project along to one of my team members. And that's another great thing, is I'm basically just passing jobs from one friend to another, which goes to the next point that I'm trying to make and what's very important, which is to say, you should really focus on making friends anywhere you can. And while, yes, you've probably heard this before, even from me, but let me make my point across in saying that making friends in this industry is so important for various reasons. And like, look, I'm an introvert, believe it or not. I just have extroverted tendencies, but I really am someone that enjoys being in my cave, doing my job, doing my work, and not really getting, overstimulated, if you will. But I choose still to put myself out there because making friends really is what carries you along the way, even during the hard times and even during the best times. Now look, I just got back from South Korea visiting a friend of mine who's very sick. And in the time that I was waiting to go see her, I just happened to go to a card store that was nearby because I wanted to buy some trading cards. And when I went into the trading card store, there was only one employee working there. So as I bought some cards, I decided to just talk to this guy and just get to know him. And we ended up talking for at least an hour, maybe a little bit more, talking about what I'm doing there, what does he do, what are our interests really. And here's the cool thing. This guy ended up being the owner of the card store. And I told him about what I do, that I'm happy to help him with any marketing or any video production work for his card business if he ever chooses to need it. So he has my information now, and now I made a friend in South Korea. But I didn't approach him because I knew he was the owner. I just approached him just to talk, and it ended up being someone that I actually got along with. And it's those friendships and those relationships that I cherish more, not because now I know he's the card store owner. I actually just like the guy as he is, but he just happens to be in a position that, yeah, maybe in the future, he could reach out and give me some work and I can help him out, and there you go, we're doing business. But I focus more on the friendship side first. I focus on actually being friends with people I actually like. But just because he has my information now does not mean I'm gonna just be at his beck and call, because if I'm not available, then I'm not available. And that's gonna lead to the next point that I really wanna drive in, because this is something I'm still dealing with, which is you need to know when to say no. I kid you not, this is still something I am learning every day. After 15 years, I'm still making mistakes in the aspect of not knowing where to draw my own lines. I know I have boundaries, but sometimes I'm willing to cross them for an opportunity, and that's also a problem. I have many internal reasons as to why it's hard for me to say no to a project, and that's whether I know that this is what I've wanted for 15 years. Sometimes I feel like I owe it to my team members now who help me with these edits to get them work. So not only do I get a project I get to work on, but if I need assistance, I know I have members now who want to work alongside with me. So I feel like I owe it to them to try to find as many opportunities as I can now. But I also feel, with God's blessing, if God's presenting me this opportunity as well, who am I to say no? But that's the exact problem. If I don't know when to say no, then where do my priorities lie? Like recently, I went through a period of where I was looking for full-time work for 8 months, meaning I was trying to get hired at different companies. And I did get 2 job offers in that time. But because I had a lot of background projects that I was working on with this AV company, with a hotel, I decided that even though I needed this job that was being offered to me, well, 2 of them, I ended up saying no. And it's because of some of the boundaries that I still felt I needed to keep for myself, but then also because I wanted to take a risk. Now, technically speaking, it really was dumb of me to say no because I really needed the money, and quite frankly, I put myself behind a lot because I didn't take those jobs. But I would not be here right now if I didn't take the risk and said no when those opportunities came. I wouldn't be here making this video talking about how I'm juggling now 7 clients, looking to get more and potentially hiring more if I didn't take the risk when that opportunity came 8 months ago to get these jobs. But now let me tell you the mistakes I'm still making, which is sometimes I get tempted to say yes when the job comes through because I see that it's in my skill range to do it. But then if I don't meet the expectations for the client, then I feel like I should have said no from the beginning. It's almost to say like I'm not meeting up to my own standards, therefore I should not have taken this job to begin with, but I wouldn't have known that had I taken the risk. And it's like an endless cycle. It's an endless cycle that I need to break. I need to stop allowing everyone access to me and giving my time to anyone that comes at me with money, because in reality, the time that I'm spending, wasting all this time trying to do right by everyone, I could be spending doing right by you guys, watching my channel, watching this video. I could be publishing more on this channel, which is exactly why I was looking to hire help in the beginning. I could also be taking all this extra time to make the current clients I have videos even better. And that is exactly what I realized I need to be doing, hence why I'm being more picky now. But that's not to say if one of you emailed me because you're looking to hire me and my production house to do some editing for you, I'm not gonna say no right away. The point is, I am just trying to remind myself to really understand what's being asked of me and my team, and when I need to say no if it's not going to be a beneficial thing for my team, but also for you as a client. Because the last thing I want is to commit to something and I don't deliver. It is one of my own personal pet peeves because I take what I do very seriously, and unless I know I can keep up with the quality, it's in my best interest to say no, and it's in your best interest for me to know when to say no to you for your sake. And that is what I want for you guys to take away as well. As an editor, I want you to approach any opportunity that comes, any project, any job, really think of the opportunity cost that it's gonna come with. Meaning if you take 10 little side jobs that are only paying you $100, you might want the money, you might want the job because you need the skills and you want to acquire new skills, and that's fine. I'm not going to tell you to say no, but what I am going to tell you is the more skills you acquire, start thinking of what it's going to cost you to do 10 $100 jobs. If maybe instead of 10, you can do 5 $200 jobs, or 3 $350 or $400 jobs. You know what I mean? Like, the more you charge and the more you're able to back it up with skills that you're acquiring over time, the more you're allowing yourself room to get even better, because you're getting to really focus on the project and, you know, not get it done because you're trying to rush to the next project. Opportunity cost is something that I definitely learned, because it's something that I just never thought about when I first started. I just thought I gotta take everything that comes my way without calculating what that's gonna cost me. Whether that's my free time, my gym time, spending time with my girlfriend, spending time with my family, taking a break. Sometimes even as simple as playing a video game I can't even do because of all the work that I committed to. But if you think about everything that I laid out here as of now, really think of what you wanna do. Think about what kind of skills you wanna acquire, what do you wanna edit? Are you gonna take making friendships seriously, which I really do think you should, out of your own interest, but also because it's great to have a support system when you need it. And then after that, when to say no to projects. The more you think about everything I'm talking about here in this video, I genuinely believe you're gonna have a way better mindset when you approach this career, because this career, sometimes it's just really crazy. I don't know what else to say, it's just nuts. Now, if you have any questions regarding anything I said or a comment, leave it in the comment section. I do read them. I would love to keep this conversation going. If you're looking to hire me and my team, email us. The link will be in the description and on screen as you probably see it. And I'll see you guys in the next video.